So, you've just landed your first leadership role, or you're stepping into a new role, and you want to make sure and start things off on the right foot with your new team. You want to seem approachable without getting run over, and you want to get ahead of any potential communication issues to make this transition as easy as possible for everyone. If this is you and you're wanting to make sure and set the right tone from day one, this is the video for you. Be sure to stay to the end because my last tip is what to do after you introduce yourself to make sure that your perfect intro wasn't a waste. Hi there, it's Julie, your conversation expert. I teach highly driven professionals the communication and leadership skills needed to uplevel their career. In this video, we're focusing on communication skills for first-time leaders and how to introduce yourself to your new team confidently. It's important to understand what your new team does and doesn't want to know from you or about you in this particular moment. Now, as you climb the leadership ladder, what the people that you are leading will expect from you will change. The higher up the chain you go, the more the people will be interested in your background and credentials. However, this is almost never the case with entry-level leadership positions. The people you supervise are the frontline workers, the customer service representatives, and those who are public-facing and dealing with the day-to-day operations of the company. Let's cut the fluff here and be completely honest. They don't really care what the credentials are that landed you this position. They care about how big of a pain in their butt you're going to be as their new manager. I know that's not what the corporate world wants you to hear, but it is the truth. And speaking from the position of someone who has been in those frontline roles for a long, long time, I can promise you that it's true. The people on those frontline customer service, public-facing positions don't want someone new coming in, micromanaging them, policing every single move they make, trying to change things too much, or otherwise implementing this amazing vision for the future of the company. They also don't want to work for someone who can't be pleased or is just making themselves busy enough to keep everybody else stressed out all the time. And let's be real. That's what a lot of entry-level and first-time managers do, and it's miserable for everybody. So don't give them a list of every school you've ever gone to and all the credentials you have and every job you've ever worked and all the experience that you have. And definitely don't use your introduction as your moment to give this giant vision for the future of this department or company. They don't want to hear it. All it sounds like to them is a bunch of bragging and a lot of things that just make them dread working with you. If becoming a first-rate leader is at the top of your to-do list, then you know that there are certain attributes and skills that make great leaders great, but you might be feeling a little stumped about how to get into that group. If that's you, then you're going to love to get your hands on my free leadership skills checklist. Can you check all the boxes? Download the checklist today and find out. There's a link in the description below. Okay, so when it comes to communication skills for first-time leaders, we've gone over what not to do, but I bet you're eager to know what in the world I do think you should share if you're going to make a great impression on your new team and introduce yourself confidently. Here's what your team really wants to know: what you expect of them, how to best communicate with you, and how to keep you happy so that you leave them alone and let them do their job. It's not very glamorous, is it? I have studied leaders and leadership for going on several decades at this point because I've been involved in organizations that have had a revolving door of leaders from a very young age. I've always been fascinated by what makes a good leader, and I've spent a lot of time observing different leadership styles and how people respond to these. If I had to summarize it quickly, it would come down to this. People want to know that you take your job seriously, meaning you understand what your responsibilities are and you consistently perform well on your responsibilities. But they also want to know that you don't take yourself too seriously, meaning you don't think that you're better than the people that you lead. You're able to interact with a variety of personality styles. You know how to tell jokes every once in a while, including maybe telling one at your own expense. And you're able to acknowledge when you don't do something right and that you're willing to take the action steps necessary to work on your own personal development. So in these entry-level leadership roles, focus on communicating these things to your new team. As a physical therapist who works in home health, every time I switch to a new job or transfer to a new office, I am being put in a semi-remote leadership position to those who I directly supervise, such as my PT assistants and some other personnel, as well as a complicated structure of people who I'll be communicating with on a semi-daily basis who work in the office. I won't get into what makes that dynamic so complicated, but just trust me on this one. I don't want to leave my new team in the dark, worried about what to expect from me, concerned about what sort of person I'm going to be to work with, or worried about having to make the first move. If I'm the leader, it's my job to make the first move and to communicate my expectations and whatever it is that I want my team to know up front. So here's an example of how I introduce myself to my team every time I have to make one of these transitions. And what I want you to pick up on as you listen to this is that I'm communicating to them what I expect from them, the best way to communicate with me, and what I'm expecting them to do that's going to keep me happy as a leader so that they don't have to worry about me causing a problem or stressing them out or micromanaging them. Because of the semi-remote nature of working in home health, sometimes these introductions are happening face-to-face, and sometimes they're happening through a written format, such as a text or an email. It doesn't really matter to me which format I'm introducing myself to my team in. I'm going to give them the same information. It's not going to change just because it's an email or a text message or because I'm speaking to them in person. Hi there, I'm Julie. I'm the new PT. Just wanted to give you my contact information and let you know the best way to get a hold of me. Texting is 100% the best way to get a hold of me. So if you need something, that's what I would suggest. I don't check my email that often, so only send me things through email if they're not time sensitive. I try really hard not to answer my phone while I'm in patients' homes. So if you call me, I'm going to assume it's something that absolutely can't wait, and I will take the call. But maybe reserve phone calls for times where there is a patient emergency, or maybe you're lost trying to find somebody's house. I definitely don't mind answering the phone to give you directions. I know I hate it when I'm lost and can't figure out where I'm trying to go. Otherwise, just send me a text message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Just to let you know, I do most of my paperwork in the evenings after I put my kids to bed. So if you get random communication from me late at night, just know that it's because I'm up and I'm charting and I'm just trying to let you know the things that are crossing my mind as I think of them, so I don't forget to tell you whatever it is you need to know. But I not expect you to respond to me outside of business hours. So if you have a question about a patient, their plan of care, or maybe a certain intervention that I've put in their plan, let me know if it's something that you're not sure how to do. I'd be happy to take the time to show you what I mean. When I'm doing my reassessments on patients, I'll absolutely contact you if there's something specific that I think you need to know, or something that I'm seeing, or something that I'm changing about their plan of care. And otherwise, it just means that I think they're doing great and to keep doing what you're doing. Let me know if you have any questions from me, or if there's anything specific that you want me to know about how you work best, or the way that you want me to communicate with you. So in this way, I am letting them know what to expect of me as a therapist, as a leader, as a communicator, how I'm planning to communicate with them, and how I expect them to respond to it. I'm making it very clear. I might be texting you outside of business hours. I do not expect you to be texting me back at 10 o'clock at night. I want them to know that I do take my job seriously, that I take my patient care very seriously, and that I'm available for them if they need me. But I'm also trying to communicate in this introduction that I am not a micromanager, because I don't like to be micromanaged. Now, there are some people who actually do prefer to have constant communication with their leaders because they want that consistent reassurance that they're doing well. And we can cover that in another video because that dives a little bit deeper into adjusting your leadership style to the style of leadership needs of the people who you are supervising or leading. So that's content for another video. But in general, up front on day one, you want to lay out the expectations of what they can expect from you and to provide them with a strong feeling that they can come to you with whatever questions or needs they have, and you're going to respond really well to it. Now, I'm curious. Have you ever had a manager introduce themselves in such a way that made you dread working with them? If so, tell me what it was. What was it they shared or said that made you immediately think, this is not going to work? There's one last point that we need to cover when it comes to communication for first-time leaders and how to introduce yourself to your team confidently, and that is the follow-through. Now, you can give a great introduction to your team, set positive expectations for what it's going to be like to work with you, position yourself as a true leader and one who's going to be pleasant to work with, and then totally blow it because you did not follow through. Make sure that you do what you say you're going to do. If you tell someone that texting is the best way to get a hold of you, but then you don't respond to their text message till the next day, you're breaking trust and breeding frustration. Don't tell someone that you don't expect them to respond to you outside of business hours and then send them an email at midnight and then hound them at 8:05 the next morning for a response. Don't encourage people to come to you for further explanations on your instructions and then act frustrated and impatient when they ask clarifying questions or admit that they don't know how to do something that you've asked them to do. Don't tell them that you're only going to be sending out important updates and then ping them 25 times a day with every single thing that crosses your mind. Don't tell them that you trust them to do their job and then nitpick every single thing they do because it's not how you would have done it. Take the initiative to be the one to introduce yourself to your new team as soon as possible, but make sure that your communication is accurate and authentic. Don't say things in your introduction that are going to come back to bite you. If you seem genuine, they'll usually take you at your word, but if your words and your actions are not aligned, you'll break trust with them almost immediately, and it will be nearly impossible to get it back. And once you've lost their trust, they will shut down and go rogue, and that will make your job exponentially harder. If developing excellent leadership skills are something that is really important to you, but you feel like you could use a guiding hand on how exactly to handle some of these tricky situations, even something as basic as how to introduce yourself to your team, but also how to deal with a lot of the inevitable conflict and delegation and pushback that may come as a natural part of being a leader, I highly encourage you to sign up for a free discovery call with me to go over my one-on-one VIP coaching package. I am very passionate about helping leaders to be the best leaders possible, and I want to help you. This package is completely customizable to your goals and the things that you're the most concerned about, that are at the top of your priority list. So if that's something that you'd like to learn more about, you can go to my website at yourconversationexpert.com/coaching or check out the link in the description below. I hope that you have found this video to be very helpful to you and something that you can implement right away. If you would, please give it a like and make sure and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of my future videos. My next video is all about giving difficult feedback to an employee, so you definitely don't want to miss that one. And in the meantime, check out these very helpful videos. As always, this is Julie, your conversation expert, and I'm here for you. Please let me know what kind of content you'd like to see in future videos so that I can make the content that will best support you. And otherwise, I'll see you next week.